Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is Explanation of Battle Through the Heavens episode number 228 based on novel. Before starting the video, special thanks to Roller Sabrine for super thanks. So let's start. Someone from the Hun clan, Xiao Yang's eyes were focused on the human figure on the distant mountain. Yarou Larou and the other looked over. Their expressions immediately changed drastically. It was unexpected that there were actually experts from the Hun clan present on this Shennong mountain range. It's Hun Sho, one of the four demon saint. His strength is comparable to Hun Jing and Hun Yang. Old man Shennong was quite familiar with these people from the Hun clan. Hence, his expression changed slightly after seeing the monstrous evil aura. He sighed softly. This Hun clan has really dispatched all of its experts to destroy the Yarou clan. Unexpectedly, there is really someone who can tear open the spatial seal placed by Nihility, sir. The figure in the distance stepped on the empty air. In a flash, he appeared in the sky above them. He looked down at Xiao Yang's group and focused his eyes onto Xiao Yang. His mouth was involuntarily parted into a smile. Those dense white teeth contained a stern evil aura, giving them the appearance of belonging to a savage beast. You are Xiao Yang, right? I have heard that the old man Hun Yang has suffered a loss in your hands. The members of the Xiao clan are indeed extraordinary. Fortunately, my Hun clan had decisively killed the Xiao clan. Otherwise, this world would currently be faced with a completely different situation. Xiao Yang's eyes stared intently at this black-clothed human figure. Although the latter had a dense smile on his face, his pair of eyes were filled with an indifferent evil aura. Clearly, this person was not some soft-hearted person. What should we do? Yarou Larou asked in a soft voice. It is unexpected that they had encountered a wolf after escaping from a tiger's den. This fellow was obviously not an ordinary person. No one present was a match for this person if they fought. Xiao Yang's 8-colored fire lotus might be terrifying, but it could not be used continuously. Moreover, from the situation when he had used it earlier, even an 8-colored fire lotus would have difficulty kill an expert of this level. Should he manage to escape, their group would really have a difficulty fighting him. Teacher, you should leave first. I will block him for a while. Xiao Yang exhaled slowly and said. What? Yarou Larou's expression changed immediately. How could Xiao Yang alone be a match for this person? Relax, I have my own plans. All of you should hurry up and leave. After that, hide your auras. I will hurry to the Jiyu clan after holding him back for a while. Xiao Yang softly said. He immediately clenched his hand. A jade bottle appeared in it. There was a dragon eye-sized medicinal pill floating within it. A shocking energy gathered like a crystal within the bottle while an unusual fragrance spread. Tier 9 mysterious pill. Yarou Larou only sighed in relief after seeing that medicinal pill. However, his eyes still contained some worry. The energy of a Tier 9 mysterious pill was extremely terrifying. It would require many aiding medicinal pills to help in the refinement after one consumed it. Hence, even with Xiao Yang's strength, he did not dare to easily swallow it. Moreover, he would definitely have to fight with Hun Sho after swallowing the pill. This would mean he would not have the attention to refine the medicinal strength. In that case, it might cause his body to suffer a relatively severe damage. Although he was worried in his heart, Yarou Larou also understood the present situation. They would still have a chance to survive if they escaped. If they remained behind, however, it would not only end up distracting Xiao Yang, but they might really be eliminated by this fellow. You should be careful. Shatter this jade if you manage to escape. I will be able to feel it. Yarou Larou finally stiffed a jade piece into Xiao Yang's heart while his heart struggled for a moment. After which, he let out a low cry and took the lead to rush forward. Old man Shennong behind hesitated for a moment before grabbing the youths from the Yarou clan and quickly followed. Where do you think you are going? Hun Sho frowned after seeing that Yarou Larou and the others were actually fleeing. The ghost blade formed by blood in his hand was swung downwards. A 10,000 feet large blood blade glow shot through the sky and sharply hacked towards Yarou Larou's group. The blade glow flew past with lightning-like speed. However, a black figure appeared in front of it while it was still 1,000 feet from Yarou Larou's group. Both arms of the figure were crossed and it forcefully received that sharp blade glow. Bang! Although they had received the blade glow, that frightening force had directly pushed that figure into the mountain range below. An entire mountain shook and collapsed. Huge rocks rolled and a loud rumbling sound appeared. The speed of Yarou Larou's group once again soared after Hun Sho's attack was blocked. Within a couple of flashes, they had rushed out of the mountain range and swiftly disappeared into the horizon. Useless people. It is fine that they have escaped. Just capturing you will do. Hun Sho's brow was lifted after he saw Yarou Larou's group successfully fleeing. However, he could not be bothered to give chase. He turned his head and his eyes suddenly paused on the Tier 9 mysterious pill in Xiao Yang's hand. A greedy flashed within those eyes. Xiao Yang, hand over that medicinal pill and I will give you an easy death. What do you say? Otherwise, I will extract your soul and burn it for hundreds of years. I don't think you wish to suffer a fate worse than death. Xiao Yang merely smiled coldly in the face of Han Shuo's words. He squeezed his hand and the jade bottle burst apart. The medicinal pill within it immediately turned into a ray of light. Before it could flee, however, Xiao Yang caught it with great reflex and directly stuffed it into his mouth. Bang! After the medicinal pill entered his body, the clothes over Xiao Yang's body had directly been turned into ashes. Densely packed dragon scales appeared over his skin. Waves after waves of indescribable energy continuously surged out from within his body like floodwater. At the end, the energy had actually agglomerated into an armor over Xiao Yang's body. What a powerful energy! Under the vast and mighty energy, Xiao Yang's body began to tremble continuously. The inside of his body felt as though he had just swallowed many huge dragons. It was a complete mess. Wild erosion spread over every part of his body. Under the uncontrolled violence of this energy, even Xiao Yang's perfect heavenly state soul had been humbled. Roar! An endless energy galloped through the interior of Xiao Yang's body. Finally, it turned into an earth-shaking roar that resounded over the entire area. The surrounding mountains had once again collapsed in the face of the furious roar. Yarrow Tian and Yarrow Ling also hurriedly stepped back. Interesting. Swallowing a Tier 9 mysterious pill requires many other things to aid in its refinement. This action of yours is no different from committing suicide. Han Shuo lifted his brow after detecting the energy erupted from within Xiao Yang's body. He immediately shook his head and laughed coldly. I have given you a path to take but you refused to. Do not blame me for being ruthless. Han Shuo suddenly stepped forward as his words sounded. His body appeared in front of Xiao Yang almost immediately. The blood-colored large blade in his hand emitted a swoosh sound as it tore through the air and slashed onto Xiao Yang's neck was an extremely shocking speed. The bloodlight was rapidly magnified in Xiao Yang's eyes. He clenched his hand and a mighty energy agglomerated into a huge heavy ruler. Since he was unable to dodge, he would directly clash head-on with Han Shuo. Clang! An unusually sharp wind spread as the blade and ruler collided. The mountain where the two of them stood on had been split into two. It collapsed with a bang while the entire mountain range trembled. Xiao Yang's figure was directly forced back by thousands of feet. A sweetness rose on his throat. However, both of his eyes were unusually excited. The earlier clash had exhausted quite a lot of energy, greatly relieving him of the feeling of being about to explode within his body. Again, Xiao Yang did not fear Han Shuo as the medicinal strength continued to surge out from within his body. He moved and took the lead to appear in front of Han Shuo. The heavy ruler in his hand did not contain any skill. It directly used the most brutal method to hack downwards violently time and time again. The vast and mighty energy had basically agglomerated into a 10,000 feet large ruler glow. The mountains were split wherever it passed. Han Shuo's expression was a little ugly as he faced Xiao Yang, whose Do Qi had erupted violently after swallowing the Tier 9 mysterious pill. The blood blade in his hands danced, forming many afterimages and receiving those heavy mountain-like ruler strikes. However, his body would descend by thousands of feet each time the heavy ruler fell. This caused his eyes to become a little gloomy. It was unexpected that Xiao Yang was actually so lively even after experiencing the big battle within the Yarrow realm. I will just watch how long you can be arrogant for. A Tier 9 mysterious pill might be powerful but you do not have the time to refine it. The energy will completely damage your body. At that time, I will see how you will continue fighting. Although Han Shuo had been pressed into a disadvantage by Xiao Yang's seemingly mad attacks, Han Shuo was unusually calm. He let out a cold laughter while putting up a defense. Xiao Yang completely ignored his cold laughter. The excitement in his eyes grew increasingly intense as the heavy ruler in his hand fell in a crazy fashion. His strikes became increasingly heavy. The entire Shenong mountain range had been destroyed into a complete mess at this moment. Clang! Another mountain-like powerful strike fell and Han Shuo's arm had become a little numb. His body fell backwards by 10,000 feet. Many mountains were shattered to dust along the way. His expression also became wigglier. Ha, how enjoyable. Let's fight again another day. The math excitement in Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly vanished as he sent Han Shuo flying with a ruler strike. He laughed towards the sky. The pair of bone wings on his back was flapped as he immediately turned around and flew towards another direction. At that direction black figure had grabbed Yarrow Tian and Yarrow Ling as it flew to the horizon. It was the Northern King, which Xiao Yang had ordered to secretly take the duo away while Xiao Yang was holding Han Shuo back. Bang! Han Shuo stomped his foot onto a mountain. Immediately, it was covered in cracks. Finally, the mountain was blasted apart and his body was stabilized. His face was dark and cold as he watched Xiao Yang flee into the distance. A low roar erupted. Xiao Yang, regardless of where you flee to, I will capture you, cut off your flesh and extract your soul. Han Shuo moved as those vicious words sounded. He turned into a bloody light as he rushed forward with great speed. From the looks of it, he was clearly not intending to allow Xiao Yang to escape. A deep thunder-like sound suddenly appeared in the vast sky. Immediately, a bright light that caused one to be stunned flashed across the sky. In a flash, it appeared in the horizon. The rumbling explosion caused many experts along the way to raise their heads in shock. Soon after the bright light flashed across the sky, a monstrous evil aura suddenly spread across the sky from behind. A black light flew past. The monstrous evil aura caused many experts to be frightened. Even some of the sects did not dare to pay attention to it. Just a random wave of a hand by that kind of expert would likely eliminate the entire faction. The chasing conducted by such an expert was not something that they could observe. This fellow really doesn't give up. The bright light flashed through the sky. The figure inside paused momentarily and frowned upon sensing the murderous aura from behind. That figure was naturally Xiao Yang, who had fled after exchanging blows with Han Shuo. However, he did not expect that the latter would actually continue to follow him. From the looks of it, the latter did not show any signs of giving up. Mr. Xiao Yang, there is still half a day's journey from this place to the Jiyu realm. That fellow is catching up. Edo Tian, who was in Xiao Yang's hand, did his best to block the wind pressure from their great speed and cried out loud. Xiao Yang nodded slightly and frowned. The energy of the Tier 9 mysterious pill could only be described as terrifying. Currently, the interior of his body had already been damaged by the wild and violent energy until it was extremely miserable. Even though Little Yi had already done its best to refine the energy, it was still a little insignificant. If it was not because of his strong body, his body might have already exploded from the energy. Despite this, it was clearly not a long-term solution. How would he escape from Han Shuo if the energy from the Tier 9 mysterious pill was to injure his body? The both of you should prepare to leave first. The condition inside my body is quite bad. If I'm afraid the Han Shuo will catch up soon if I bring the two of you along with me. One of you should be able to keep your life if you leave now. That fellow's target is me. It is likely that he won't chase you. Xiao Yang mused for a moment and spoke in a deep voice. Even with the support of the energy from the Tier 9 mysterious pill, his speed would be slower than Han Shuo if he brought two people with him. I'll follow you. Yarrow Tian and Yarrow Ling spoke almost at the same time after Xiao Yang's words sounded. They were aware that it was most dangerous to follow beside Xiao Yang. However, they wished to leave the safest position to the other party. What a touching scene. However, there is no time for argument now. Xiao Yang frowned and said. Yarrow Tian and Yarrow Ling were stunned as he heard this. The latter immediately threw a palm onto Yarrow Tian's chest. A gentle force pushed the latter away from Xiao Yang. However, Xiao Yang did not stop her. With a wave of his sleeve, he sent Yarrow Tian flying through the sky. A voice was transmitted into the latter's ears, hurry up and leave. Yarrow Tian steadied his body in a miserable manner. His eyes were completely red as he looked at Xiao Yang duo flying into the distance. Without uttering any unnecessary words, he turned around and hurried in another direction. You are really decisive, Xiao Yang hugged Isoling's delicate waist. Pink flame wrapped around the both of them. Their speed suddenly soared. Yarrow Ling's face was a little flushed as her delicate waist was being tightly hugged by Xiao Yang. That cold frost on her face had also diminished slightly. She turned her head and looked at the face beside her. This was a face that was far from the handsome look of her brother Iso Tian. However, it caused her eyes to flicker. Given her cold and haughty nature, she had seldom felt any admiration for a person of the opposite gender during these years. This person was the only exception. The time which both parties had been in contact was quite short. Xiao Yang was serious and casual while he was. A beauty loves a hero. Regardless of how cold the beauty was, it was impossible for her to be an exception to this rule. Xiao Yang did not have the time to be bothered with the thoughts of the beauty in his embrace. At this moment, most of his thoughts were focused on suppressing and refining the out-of-controlled vast and mighty energy in his body. At the same time, he must maintain his speed. These various matters was quite a big test to him. Separate her. From far behind Xiao Yang, Han Shuo, who had a gloomy expression, quickly swept his eyes over Xiao Yang's and Yarrow Tian's back. Finally, he let out a cold snort and continued chasing after Xiao Yang. These members of the Yarrow clan who had escaped were completely useless to them. However, it was different when it came to Xiao Yang. The latter had the Chu-Shi ancient god jade in his hand. This was something the Han clan must obtain. I wish to see just how long you can last for. One party fled while the other chased in the sky. This continued for a couple of hours. During this period of time, the two parties had basically crossed half of the Central Plains. Although they had caught the attention of many experts along the way, no one dared to intervene in the face of Han Shuo's shocking aura. All they did was simply watch the both parties flying through the sky. Following the flow of time, Xiao Yang's condition had clearly become increasingly worse. The crystal-like seemingly endless energy gathered within the meridians of his body. It firmly sealed off the many meridians. Even though Little Yi was doing its best to refine the energy, there would be an endless amount of energy crystals continuously appearing. The energy crystals slowly swelled and a vague pain was felt in Xiao Yang's unusually tough meridians. The energy of a Tier 9 mysterious pill was actually this frightening. Mr. Xiao Yang. Yarrow Ling looked at Xiao Yang's miserable expression. Although the strength of her Do Qi was not very strong, her spiritual strength was quite powerful. Hence, she had also sensed that Xiao Yang's spiritual strength had become exhausted as it continued to weaken. If something becomes amiss later on, I will send you away. Xiao Yang forcefully braced his attention. Currently, his body was not only filled with external injuries but the inside of his body was also a complete mess. It was already quite difficult for him to last until now. Yarrow Ling gently bit her lips. She suddenly extended her snow-white wrist and handed it to Xiao Yang. She softly said, "My constitution is a little unique. Hence, my blood possesses the effect of nourishing spiritual strength." Mr. Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang was immediately startled upon hearing this. His eyes glanced at the exquisite and attractive face of Yarrow Ling. The latter looked at him seriously. That appearance did not seem like she was lying. There is actually such a strange constitution. No wonder it is said that this lady might have a chance to step into the DI state spiritual strength. It is likely because of this constitution. A thought passed through Xiao Yang's mind. He did not utter anything unnecessary as he bit on Yarrow Ling's wrist. His teeth pierced into the blood vessel. A great amount of bright red blood was sucked into Xiao Yang's mouth. Xiao Yang violently shuddered after the blood, which contained a little unusual sweetness, entered his mouth. The blood had turned into a mysterious energy immediately upon entering his mouth. It spread swiftly and surged towards the center of his brow. His originally exhausted spiritual strength was actually being wrapped by a faint blood light. A feeling that was fuller than when he was at his peak suddenly appeared. What mysterious blood! A sleek redness swiftly rose on Xiao Yang's face. Both of his eyes brightened. He could clearly sense that his soul was greedily devouring the blood. This was the first time he had ever felt such a sensation. My spiritual strength might advance further if I sucked her blood dry. A thought from an unknown source flashed across Xiao Yang's heart. It was quickly eliminated by Xiao Yang in the next instant. He looked at Yarrow Ling, who was gently biting her red lips while wearing a pale expression, and involuntarily slapped himself violently within his heart for the beast-like thought. He slowly relaxed his mouth and wiped off the blood from the corner of his mouth. After which he muttered in an apologetic manner, "Thank you very much." Yarrow Ling shook her head slightly. Her pretty eyes looked behind her as she pressed her eyebrows together and said, "That fellow has become faster." Xiao Yang's expression changed slightly upon hearing this. He discovered that the sound of rushing wind far behind had become increasingly deep. Clearly, Han Shuo had begun to feel impatient and had used some unknown method to increase his speed. "Hold tight. This place is already quite close to the Jiyu clan. We will be safe once we arrive." Xiao Yang inhaled a deep breath of air. His eyes had become stern. The green-red wings on his back were flapped and his body turned into a lightning that swiftly hurried into the horizon. "Brat, I will not give you the opportunity to seek refuge in the Jiyu clan." Han Shuo's face appeared extremely gloomy as he gave chase from behind. He did not expect Xiao Yang's speed to suddenly increase after having slowed for a moment. Immediately, the seal formed by his hands changed. Black Do Qi erupted in a monstrous fashion and turned into a black bat that was thousands of feet in size. A mouthful of essence blood was spat out. It adhered onto the bat. The bat flapped its wings. One could hear a swoosh sound as it completely vanished. "This is bad." Xiao Yang's expression changed drastically the moment Han Shuo's figure disappeared. He grabbed Yarrow Ling in his embrace and suddenly lowered his body. Xiao Yang's body had just descended when a blood glow rushed out from the space above his head. It brushed past his head as it flew past. "Xiao Yang, where will you flee to?" The space fluctuated and a dense-looking Han Shuo broke out from it. His eyes were ferocious as he stared at Xiao Yang. The blood blade in his hand was swung and a huge blood glow, which was tens of thousands of feet in size, cut through the air. It had the might of shattering the land as it slashed onto Xiao Yang duo. The blood glow was rapidly magnified in Xiao Yang's eyes. His face was extremely gloomy. His shoulder shook and Little Yi appeared in a flash. A golden lightning dragon was quickly wiggling on Little Yi's arm. However, Xiao Yang was just about to use the strength of the 9 mysterious golden lightning as a final retaliation when an elderly figure suddenly appeared in the space in front of him. A cry resounded from that figure. "Trying to murder in the territory of my Jiyu clan. Han Shuo, you are really a little too arrogant." The figure which appeared in front of Xiao Yang was wearing green long robes. His hair was completely white. A smile hung on his fair-looking face, giving him a somewhat immortal-like feeling. "Han Shuo, you should restrain yourself now that you have reached the territory of the Jiyu clan after such a long chase." The green-robed old man smilingly looked at Han Shuo, whose murderous aura filled the air, and laughed. From the way he spoke, it seemed that he had already sensed Xiao Yang being chased by Han Sho since a long time ago. Jiyu Dao, the three immortals of the Jiyu clan. Han Sho's expression was gloomy as he looked at the green-robed old man. A solemn expression surged onto his face. It was unexpected that he had ended up meeting such a troublesome person the moment he had arrived. My target is him. It has nothing to do with the Jiyu clan. The green-robed old man, who was called Jiyu Dao, smilingly shook his head upon hearing this. He said, "Ha ha, this won't do. Xiao Yang is considered half a member of the Jiyu clan. It is impossible for me to hand him over to you. Han Sho, you should hurry up and leave. Fighting in this place is disadvantageous to you." Xiao Yang was startled after seeing Jiyu Dao recognizing him upon sight. Since when did he become half a member of the Jiyu clan? Little fellow, you have taken the opportunity to take Zun Er's virginity back in the demonic flame realm. Don't tell me that you intend to deny it. Jiyu Dao turned his head and spoke faintly, appearing as though he was aware of Xiao Yang's doubt. Xiao Yang widened his mouth. His face revealed a rare embarrassment. However, he quickly recovered and spoke in a deep voice. "Elder, the reason I have come to the Jiyu clan this time around is to inform your clan that the Yarrow clan had already been destroyed by the Han clan. The culprit behind the extermination of the Ling and Shi clans is also them." The smile on Jiyu Dao's face diminished slowly. His eyes turned towards Han Sho and he softly said, "You are indeed the ones behind it." This news was quite shocking to him. However, he did not feel any sense of disbelief. After all, they had already made some guesses after those incidents had occurred. However, they did not have the evidence and were unable to prove their guess. The thing that caused him to be furious was that these people had actually struck again. "You are really full of nonsense. Relax, your Jiyu clan will sooner or later meet the same fate as them." Han Sho laughed coldly but did not deny the claim. "I'm afraid that you do not have such a big appetite." Jiyu Dao frowned slightly. There was a chill surging within his voice. One's appetite is not simply shown by using word. Han Sho's laughed loudly. The bat wings behind him were flapped. The space fluctuated and he directly appeared in front of Jiyu Dao. That blade was swung with a swoosh swoosh sound. A sharp blood-colored blade light engulfed Jiyu Dao. "Han Sho, we have not exchanged blows for hundreds of years, but it seems that you have not made much improvement. If it is not because your 4 demon saints of the Han clan rely on your numbers, my Jiyu clan's 3 immortals will not fear you even a little." Jiyu Dao merely laughed faintly in the face of the unusually sharp attack from Han Sho. He clenched his hand and 100 feet large green rod appeared in his hand. The rod danced and the energy of this entire place was stirred. It turned into an endless number of ferocious rod shadows that collided with Han Sho's blade glow. The rod and blade clashed. An extremely shockingly sharp storm swept out from this seemingly ordinary clash. The space within radius tens of thousands of feet in size had been shaken until it shook intensely. Wild wind swept over the plains. Sand flew and rock moved. Xiao Yang held Yarrow Ling and swiftly pulled back. He landed on a mountain before swiftly sitting down. The energy of the Tier 9 medicinal pill had already filled his body to the brim. If he did not think of a way to refine it, his body would sooner or later end up exploding. A Tier 9 mysterious pill is indeed not something that one can randomly swallow. Xiao Yang laughed bitterly. This was the first time that he had been turned into such a miserable state by a medicinal pill. Moreover, it was also the first time that he had a headache over having too much energy within his body. The seal formed by Xiao Yang's hands changed as he sat down. Little Yi immediately came out from within his body. It rapidly turned into a fire cauldron and wrapped his entire body within it. The purifying demonic lotus flame was finally completely unleashed. It surged into Xiao Yang's body from all directions and swiftly refined the seemingly real-like energy within his body, which had already turned into crystals. Without being attacked by an enemy, Xiao Yang was finally able to completely focus his mind on using all his strength to refine the energy crystals within his body. The effect of this all-out force had clearly brought about quite a great effect. The frightening strength of the purifying demonic lotus flame was once again unleashed. The crystals, which filled his veins, had swiftly turned into waves of torrent-like pure energy under this continuous refinement. It whistled and galloped within Xiao Yang's body. His meridians, which had been fully blocked, had once again become loose. The endless vast and mighty energy was slowly circulated within Xiao Yang's meridians. Finally, it turned into powerful Do Qi, which merged into Xiao Yang's limbs. Immediately, a feeling of being completely filled once again rose within his heart. Moreover, the Do Qi within his body had vaguely showed signs of slowly soaring. The effect of the Tier 9 mysterious pill was slowly being unleashed at this moment. While Xiao Yang was making full use of his time to refine the shocking medicinal pill energy within his body, the battle in the sky was also becoming increasingly intense. Jiyu Dao and Han Sho were the top experts from their respective clans. Moreover, they were at the 7-star Do Shun class. The destructive force when they fought was naturally earth-shaking. However, it was unusually difficult for a victor to be decided. Damn it, why have I end up meeting this old ghost? This is the territory of the Gu clan. Any large-scale battle will definitely attract the Gu clan's attention. At that time, if the other two Gu clan's 3 immortals were to come, he would likely have difficulty even retreating in one piece. A bloodlight that was tens of thousands of feet in size rose from the large ghost blade. However, it collapsed after being gently touched by Jiu Qing's green rod. Han Sho's brow was tightly knitted. I must end this battle as soon as possible. A fierce glow flashed across Han Sho's eyes. The seal formed by his hands suddenly changed. That blood blade in his hand escaped and a bloodlight erupted. Immediately, the blade swelled to 10,000 feet. The enormous blood blade was suspended in the sky with an evil aura that seemed to have a form gathered around it. Blood light surged over the blade and his soul fluttered under this blade. Blood god tearing sky. The evil aura agglomerated over the blood blade. Han Sho's eyes became cold. The blood blade rushed downwards and a deafening sonic boom rumbled over the sky. The space within 100,000 feet collapsed as the blood blade passed. 100,000 feet large deep gully had also appeared on the plains tens of thousands of kilometers below. The gully was not wide but it was deep to the point of appearing bottomless. Jiu Dao's expression became grave as the blood blade rushed downwards. The green rod in his hand swelled rapidly before violently colliding with the blood blade. Bang! An indescribable frightening wave swept over the sky. The plains, which was tens of thousands of kilometers large, had sunk by dozens of feet. Most of the mountains had collapsed and turned into dust. The destructive force from a fight between 7-star Doshungs was actually this terrifying. The blood blade flew out and its size rapidly shrunk. Finally, it swiftly shot towards the direction where Han Sho's body was located. However, the blood blade was about to touch that figure when the latter suddenly disappeared. After image, Jiu Dao's eyes suddenly shrunk. He rotated his gaze, only to see that Han Sho had appeared in a flash on the mountain in the distance where Xiao Yang was at. That earth-shaking attack from earlier was merely a distraction that Han Sho had used. His aim was still to capture Xiao Yang. Brat, I have said that you cannot escape. Han Sho's body appeared in front of Xiao Yang in a ghost-like fashion. He grabbed with his hand and the fire cauldron collapsed. However, Xiao Yang's tightly shut eyes were suddenly opened just as the former's hand was about to land on the top of his head. An aura that was many times stronger than earlier surged towards the sky. Dark clouds immediately churned and there was a faint thunder resounding over the sky. 6-star Dosheng? You have actually refined a Tier 9 mysterious pill? Han Sho's expression suddenly changed after detecting Xiao Yang's stronger aura. Murderous intent rose within his eyes. He not only did not slow but has become even faster. Have a taste of this. Xiao Yang did not reveal the slightest fear in the face of this fatal strike by Han Sho. He let out a cold laughter. Suddenly, golden dragon symbols surfaced on his arm. The thunderbolts flashing within the dark clouds in the sky dimmed after these dragon symbols appeared. It was as though they had met something terrifying. Something's wrong. Han Sho glanced at the golden dragon symbol on Xiao Yang's arm. Without knowing the reason, Han Sho felt a little unease rising within his heart. However, it was already not in time for him to stop his attack at this moment. His palm wind became increasingly sharp as he ruthlessly smashed violently down from Xiao Yang's head. Go! A death god-like palm was rapidly being magnified in Xiao Yang's eyes. In the next instant, his arm suddenly trembled and the golden dragon symbol suddenly erupted. Finally, it turned into a golden lightning that shot out from his finger at a speed, which was difficult to detect with his naked eye. The golden lightning had collided with Han Sho's palm in an instant. Immediately, the sharp wind on the latter's palm collapsed. The lightning easily penetrated through his palm. Bang! A great force that could not be resisted came striking at Han Sho the moment the lightning struck his palm. His body flew backwards. A continuous stream of blood shot out from him. This. Jiu Dao, who had swiftly rushed over, was startled as he watched this scene. His eyes were filled with shock and uncertainty as he looked at the golden lightning that flashed from Xiao Yang's finger and struck its target. He could sense an energy that caused even his heart to palpitate from it. Bastard, what is that thing? Han Sho's body was stabilized in the air in a somewhat miserable manner. He looked at the charred black bloody hole on his hand. His defense from earlier was completely useless. If that strike was directly aimed at his head, it was likely that even he would be seriously injured. Swoosh! Intense sound of rushing wind was suddenly transmitted from a short distance away just as Han Sho's expression had changed. Clearly, a large group of people were swiftly hurrying over. Xiao Yang, remember this. I will definitely make you repay for this 10 times over. Han Sho clenched his teeth with great unwillingness. He also understood that he had lost his last opportunity. Immediately, he let out a vicious roar towards Xiao Yang before his body turned into a ray of black light that rushed into the distance. Xiao Yang indifferently looked at Han Sho, who had disappeared into the distance. Only then did he slowly lift his arm. At this moment, his arm no longer possessed as feeling of the 9 mysterious golden lightning's strength. Even his current self was only able to barely control it. A shocked expression rose within Yarrow Ling's pretty eyes as she stood a short distance from Xiao Yang and watched Han Shuo turning around and flee. Clearly, she did not expect that Xiao Yang was actually able to frighten off such an expert. Mr. Xiao Yang, have you refined the Tier 9 mysterious pill? Yarrow Ling could not resist opening her mouth and asked. Being an alchemist, she was naturally well aware of just how terrifying a Tier 9 mysterious pill was. Hence, it was a little difficult for her to imagine that Xiao Yang was actually able to refine it within this short 10 minutes. How can it be so easy? I have merely refined a portion of it. Xiao Yang shook his head. A wild joy rose within his eyes. It was unexpected that the Tier 9 mysterious pill was actually this terrifying. He had only just refined a portion of it, but it had already allowed his to progress from the advanced level 5-star Doshan class to the 6-star Doshan class. No wonder even Han Shuo greatly coveted such miraculous pill. If I completely refine the Tier 9 mysterious pill, I might perhaps be able to steadily reach the intermediate level 6-star Doshan. Xiao Yang made a brief estimation. The joy within his eyes involuntarily became denser. He must completely refine the medicinal strength within his body once this matter comes to an end. Ha ha, it looks like I have intervened for no reason this time around. Jiyu Dao slowly walked through the air and finally landed beside Xiao Yang. His eyes swiftly swept over the golden dragon, which had swiftly scattered from his hand. He smiled without a change in his expression. Elder Jiyu Dao really knows how to joke. If it is not because of your quick intervention, my body might have already exploded from having too much medicinal strength. Xiao Yang hurriedly stood up, cupped his hands together and laughed. Oh, what kind of medicinal pill is it? Even you cannot endure it. Jiyu Dao expression changed slightly upon hearing this. A Tier 9 mysterious pull. In order to escape from Han Shuo, I have no choice but to swallow it. Xiao Yang laughed. Tier 9 mysterious pill. Jiyu Dao's mouth twitched slightly. He smiled bitterly and shook his head. It must be said that Xiao Yang was really blessed to the point where even he was envious. Even Jiyu Dao had never enjoyed a medicinal pill of this tier. Elder Jiyu Dao. The distant rushing wind sound had swiftly approached while Xiao Yan and Jiyu Dao chatted. Dozens of figures swiftly hurried over. Their eyes were extremely startled as they swept over the completely messy destroyed plains below. Finally, they hurried towards the mountain where Xiao Yang trio were located. They landed one after another and respectfully spoke to Jiyu Dao. Xiao Yang's eyes randomly swept over that group of people. He was stunned to find that the leader was actually someone he was familiar with. It was Ling Quan, whom he had some grudge against back then. While Xiao Yang had discovered Ling Quan, the latter's eyes had also glanced at him. Immediately, his expression became a little unnatural. Although he had been in the Jiyu realm, he had heard a great deal about the various incidents related to Xiao Yang in the Central Plains during these years. Every single one of them could let him look up to Xiao Yang. However, over a decade ago, this current giant-like existence on the Doqi continent did not even have the ability to fight him. The world was indeed changing far too rapidly. Elder Jiyu Dao, we have hurried over as fast as we could after detecting the activity here. May I know? Ling Quan seemed to be the leader of the group. He looked respectfully at Jiyu Dao and asked, "Everything is fine now. The person who have come this time around is one of the 4 demon saints of the Han clan, Han Shuo." Jiyu Dao waved his hand and spoke in a faint voice. The expressions of Ling Quan and the rest changed drastically upon hearing this. His face contained some shock. The 4 demon saints of the Han clan were the top experts from the Han clan. Their status was similar to the Jiyu clan's 3 immortals in the Jiyu clan. Other than the clan head and a few other individuals, no one could be compared with them. Just look at yourself. Xiao Yang is quite a lot younger than all of you. Yet, he is able to easily survive while being chased by Han Shuo. Earlier, he had even nearly managed to break Han Shuo's arm. If the younger generation of the Jiyu clan can produce such a person, our Jiyu clan will definitely prosper in the future. How would the Han clan dare to bully us? Jiyu Dao frowned and reprimanded in a deep voice after seeing the change in their expressions. Understood. Elder is right. Even Ling Quan did not dare to argue after being reprimanded by Jiyu Dao. He hurriedly nodded in agreement. The corner of his eyes secretly glanced at Xiao Yang. However, he could only laugh bitterly and shake his head within his heart. Someone like Han Shuo was basically like a legend in their hearts. Yet, Xiao Yang was not only able to successfully escape from his hand but was even able to injure and force him back. Regardless of how proud he was in his heart, Ling Quan had no choice but to admire this ability of Xiao Yang. Elder Jiyu Dao should not overly praise me. If it is not because of your intervention, Xiao Yang might not be able to stand here in one piece. Xiao Yang felt helpless at seeing Jiyu Dao using him as an example. His expression quickly became serious as he spoke in a deep voice, Elder Jiyu Dao, I wonder if you can allow me to meet clan head Jiyu Yuan. The matter of the Yarrow clan being annihilated is not a small one. The Hun clan is definitely up to something. What? Ling Quan and the others by the side, who had just stood up, had a drastic change in their expressions. Both of their eyes were filled with disbelief as they looked at Xiao Yang. The Yarrow clan was actually also eliminated. This matter is indeed extremely critical. If you have not come and inform us, we will likely not know what have happened to the Yarrow clan even until now. It seems that even the clan chief is unable to sense some of the tricks of the Yarrow clan. Jiyu Dao's face was grave as he mentioned this matter. He glanced at the look of despair on Yarrow Ling's pretty face. He softly said, "It seems that we will have to invite the clan heads of the Yang and Lei clan. The action of the Hun clan this time around is clearly targeting all the ancient clans. If they did not do anything, it was likely that they would all fall into the demonic hands of the Hun clan." Xiao Yang slowly nodded. This action of the Hun clan had clearly placed them on the opposing side of all the ancient clans. However, no one knew who would have the last life. Jiyu Dao did not say anything more as he was aware of the seriousness of the matter. After sending Ling Quan and the others back to Jiyu City, he immediately led Xiao Yang and Yarrow Ling to swiftly enter the Jiyu realm without stopping. The news had expectedly stirred a huge commotion after it was spread into the Jiyu realm. All of the experts within the Jiyu clan were stirred by the commotion. The Yarrow clan had unknowingly been destroyed by the Hun clan. This technique had already exceeded the ability of the Jiyu clan. Could it be that the Hun clan was really planning some schemes? The many elders from the Jiyu clan had all arrived in a hall with an extremely grave atmosphere. On the leader's seat was Jiyu Yuan, whom Xiao Yang had met once before. His expression was extremely deep. At a glance, he appeared just like an ordinary person. However, at Xiao Yang's current strength, he was vaguely able to sense just what kind of terrifying strength was hidden within this body. This person was a true peak expert of the current Dochi continent. There were 3 old men clothed in white on Jiyu Yuan's left. Jiyu Dao was amongst them. It was possible for Xiao Yang to sense a mighty aura that was not inferior to Jiyu Dao from them. It was likely that they were the other 2 of the Jiyu clan 3 immortals, who possessed an extremely high status.